for being here. This is a great opportunity to share, for us to share our experiences, either on vacation or somewhere else for research. And in my case, I would like to present on an experience in my own country. I have been very involved during my whole career in the studies of Mexico. When I finished my PhD dissertation was about Mexico. It was a comparative analysis between the north and the south of Mexico, a country that's very unequal. And I'm going to tell you something about that inequality with regards to the electoral process. I'm very involved all the time. I'm doing research on the field in Mexico. This is a passion. This is my country, and I'm very involved in politics. We had in July 1st of 2018, we had a historic election in the country. For the first time in the history of Mexico, we have a candidate of the left. A candidate of the left winning the election. As you know, for more than 70 years in Mexico, we had the same political party that dominated elections in the country in all levels. But the president decided its successor for 70 years, and it was from the same party. After Mexico's revolution in 1910, there was a period of instability, and in 1929, the Institutional Revolutionary Party with a different name was born, and it dominated elections for more than 70 years. In the year 2000, it was the first time we had a president of a different party. There were 12 years of this party, and the party that was in power for 7 years returned in the year 2012. In the year 2006, we had a very contested election, and the person who was allegedly the winner was the person who won this election in 2018. And that has had big implications, because that very contentious electoral process in 2006 led to the president the person who was supposedly elected. What I'm saying is because there are many people in Mexico who think that in 2006, Felipe Calderon, the candidate of the National Action Party, like center-right, some people say right-wing party, won the election, but he became very highly questioned, and people allege that for legitimization purposes, he declared the war on drugs and focused everything on securitization in the country. And you know what the results of a war on drugs in Mexico were. People from Colombia understand very well what are the implications of some type of anti-drug trafficking policies in combination with the United States, like in Plan Colombia and the results of this anti-trafficking cooperation with the United States has had other implications. And I'm not alleging right now, I'm not going to present on that. I'm going to present on the election, but I just wanted to give you some background. In the case of Mexico, with the so-called war on drugs that was declared in 2006 by the Mexican president, we have had a very complicated period of insecurity and very high increase in the level of assassinations and problems related to this armed conflict between the Mexican state and the so-called drug cartels or criminal organizations. People are very tired about that. The army arrived to the streets and started to do policing tasks, started to police the streets, and there were a lot of violation of human rights, assassinations. Close to 200,000 people have been killed in 12 years in the country, and people are really tired about that. People don't want to continue seeing the military in the streets. The violation of human rights are enormous, and the situation of violence has not been solved, even with this militarization that has led to a lot of destruction and lives being lost. So I think that after 12 years of this so-called drug war, and after all these 18 years of failed governments after this democratization period, this evolution in Mexico where we had parties competing in a real process, in a real democratic process, we came to the 2018 election with an electorate very disappointed with the parties that had been ruling the nation. And for the first time, they chose this president that allegedly had won 2006, but with highly questioning the results, and he was able to win this election. However, we have in our countries, in several Latin American countries, a very interesting history, and not very good history, of electoral fraud. And at the state and local level, we have seen a lot of attempts and a lot of fraudulent elections connected to the possibilities, the economic possibilities of the parties in power. And in that context, a group of professors from the United States, Mexico, and other parts of the world got together in the month of February of this year to form a network to try to defend Mexican democracy and participate. And one of our efforts, apart from efforts here in the United States, trying to spread out the word, to analyze the surveys, and to write some pieces about what was going on in the country. This electoral process was very difficult. Several candidates of different parties were murdered in this period, and there were a lot of doubts among the population, and we were fearing that there was going to be an electoral fraud. And therefore, we formed a group of nearly 50 professors of different universities in Mexico, the United States, Canada, and Europe. We formed a network of observers. It's a university network that fights for democracy, Red Universitaria y Democrática for the Mexican election. It's a university network, and we participated formally as electoral observers. This network was registered, and we had a formal role as electoral observers. I mean, the United Nations and other NGOs participated as well. We have a specific process to be able to do that. We are connected with the National Electoral Institute of Mexico. We have certain tasks. There are certain procedures to become part of this process, and it's a way that civil society has to verify that the processes are made without fraud, and elections take place without major events of instability, and the results are clean and fine. So we participated there. We had a training. It was not an easy process, of course, to participate, but we were there. We had a training. We had several meetings during the summer, before the election of July the 1st. And we went to different places. We couldn't cover the whole country because the network was not big enough. We started 50 professors, but we expanded the network to over 200 people, including other members of the civil society and students of universities in Mexico. And we met a week before, and we participated during the whole process, because we have to go and look at the sites, we have to talk to electoral authorities before the elections take place, and we have to take notes to see if all the process is taking place adequately. I want to show you a little bit about this. We have some paperwork to sign before and after the election, and we had to, during the election day, we have to be transferring all this information to the people that were organizing this effort of electoral observation. Me and other people, we form a team of 5 people. We went to the state of Mexico, to the municipality of Huixquilucan in the state of Mexico, which is one of the of the states of the country that was much more contentious because of the allegations of fraud. The election for governor that took place the previous year in 2017 was marked with fraud and with violence, and the winner of that election is very close to the current president of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto. And there were lots of allegations of fraud, vote buying, violence, and political murders. So I decided to go there because also this district, this municipality in the state of Mexico is one of the most unequal ones. You have the richest, some of the richest districts and some of the poorest districts. We covered, of course, the poorest ones when vote mobilization could take place, and it was surprising, very, very surprising that with very little resources, people were. They wanted a change, and even here, with a lot of control from the PRI, from the party in power, the governor is very good friend, and it's related closely to the president. They were not able to mobilize the vote to change the result. So these are some pictures of the date of the election. I mean, we didn't have a lot of resources. You can see like the sodas to maintain the votes, but people were very interested in making this change and in participating. So in Mexico, the elections are taking place and are organized by the civil society. So the National Electoral Institute of Mexico convenes and organizes the process, but people participate as in counting the votes and making the election effective. So we were there 3 days before, talking to the electoral authorities, or the people who were going to lead this effort in different casillas, in different voting booths, and we covered 25 places from the morning to the end. I went with some of my colleagues of the Wilson Center and some of my colleagues from the National University of Mexico. And these were this is the paperwork that we had to fill out to tell our group, our organizers, that everything was in order, or if there was some irregularity and somebody was not doing, if the voting place was not open, and any type of irregularity, we had to cover all these 25 voting booths. And these are the lines. You can see like the participation of the people. This is one of the most unequal municipalities, as I said, in the country. So you can see the biggest houses and the poorest houses in Mexico at the same time. So these are my colleagues, Eric also from the Wilson Center, and this other person who's like the expert on armed forces in Mexico. He's a professor at UNAM. And later on, and in other occasion, I can tell you a little bit more about the new security strategy after this new president won the election. These were This is the first part of the process, the first day that we went to visit the sites that we were going to be participating at. We had our official tag, and well, this is the result of the election. As I said, in July 2018, that same day we knew that the candidate of the left, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and his party had won massively, not only the presidential vote, but also state and local elections. The local elections, many of them were won by his party. So he has a majority in the Senate, he has a majority in Congress. So he has a lot of possibilities to achieve what he wants. We'll see how it goes. There's going to be a very big shift in security strategy based on legalization of drugs, regularization of drugs, legalization of marijuana, and legalization of the growing of poppy seed, which has allegedly, according to some of his team members, the drugs are the main issue in the country. I don't believe so. because I think crime is much more complicated, the criminal structures in the country. But we are moving in a very different direction and towards some schemes of transitional justice. So this person promised a lot, promised to completely change the economic and social project of the country, as well as a security strategy, and he promised to fight corruption. People wanted to hear what he was saying. People were very happy. We went to downtown Mexico to celebrate. I really cried. It was a great moment. But now I'm not so positive. Things are very different when an election takes place. There are lots of hopes, and today I don't feel so hopeful. But this is just a little bit of what was July 1st of 2018 in my country. And thank you for listening. Thank you
very much, actually.